Welcome home, where we provide information, inspiration, and motivator after motivator after motivator here on America's Next. I have Raymond Aaron here with me today. How you doing, Raymond?
Amazing. I'm so honored to be on your show.
Absolutely, absolutely. And where are you geographically? Where are you?
Well, up to very recently, like a week or two, I lived downtown in the major city of Toronto, Canada, but I have just in my mid-70s made a giant cultural shift in my life, and I'm living way out in the wilderness in a log cabin.
You know, a lot of people, as they get older, they have this thought about doing one more dramatic move in their life, whether they want to go somewhere a little bit more isolated or a little bit more populated. But a lot of people don't do it. How did you muster up the courage, or did you already have the courage to make this move?
Cedric, people say of me that I have no bridge between think land and do land. I get an idea and I'm implementing it. That's just me.
So every idea that you have has a home in your actions.
Wow, what a beautiful way of saying it. You're my new best friend.
Yeah, let's rock and roll. Ladies and gentlemen, we are in the building tonight with Raymond Aaron. He is a wealth of knowledge. He is a master at what he does. But we're here to learn his journey first. Hi to Yolanda Raleigh in the building. Raymond, where were you born?
I was born in Toronto, Canada. In fact, I was the first Jewish baby born in the Jewish New Year in the whole city of Toronto.
Wow.
The Jewish New Year starts on Rosh Hashanah, which is somewhere around mid-September. So I was born September 18th at 2 a.m, first Jewish baby. And from there, go ahead.
Go ahead.
From there, I had the most startling, unusual life of giant successes and giant failures.
When we are born, there are ironies and synchronicities that our parents look for, or that sometimes we discover later in life. And it seems like Aaron realized that his life was meant to be special from the very start. What would you say was one of the first big signals that your life was going to be great?
Well, I didn't know it at the time. I was just a day old. But like all Jews, I was named after important relatives or usually family members who've died. And so I was named after two Jews in our family who were killed in the Holocaust. And so my actual given names are Reuven Leib, but my parents transliterated that to Raymond Leonard, just so it's easier for people to pronounce.
Wow. Is that a Jewish tradition?
Yeah, it is.
To name?
Yeah. Wow. The Christian tradition is to name a child after someone who's alive. So Bill Smith would be named after Bill Smith, and he'd be called Bill Smith Jr. But there's no Moishe Greenberg Jr. It can't happen because you're never allowed to be named after someone who's alive, only someone who's passed.
Mm-hmm. Can you educate us a little bit on what it means to be Jewish? What does that exactly mean?
Well, you know, there's a very, very big difference between Jews and, let's say, Christians, a huge difference, because Christians are taught to follow and to believe. Christians are actually called sheep, and your Lord is called shepherd. That's actually not a pleasant thought for Jews. Jews are taught to challenge and to question everything. Right when we're 3 or 4 years old at the festival of Passover, there's 4 questions that are asked of the adults, and the youngest child is always asked to ask those questions. So we are taught to ask and to challenge all the time. And as a result, the most amazing buildings in the world, the most amazing physicists in the world, the most amazing scientists in the world, the most amazing lawyers in the world, and doctors are often Jewish, even though Jews represent only 2% of the US population. So, for example, the Jews represent 2% of the US population, but they represent 25% of the American Nobel Prizes and 50% of the Nobel Physics Prizes.
This this has been a groundbreaking statement by you just now in my life. Um, Asking and challenging all the time has been seen as almost counterculture or almost rebel culture along my journey. Just the fact that you're always asking, you're always digging deeper, you're always challenging. That could get you kicked out of rooms along my journey. And so I find it interesting that you understand life that way. You understand life as an opportunity for you to ask, challenge, and then since you have no waiting period between your ideas and when you manifest them, it's almost like you're in position to be number one all the time.
Jewish boys have a bar mitzvah at age 13, and we get to read from the Torah, the sacred writings. And then when that's done and the pressure's off, the little Jewish boy gets to stand up in front of the whole congregation and ask the rabbi a difficult question. And so little Jewish boys, 12 years old, think of the most difficult questions they can. Of course, they're only 12, so they're not actually that difficult. But for the little boy, he thinks it's like the world-shattering difficult question. And so little boys ask questions like, if God is a good God, how could the Holocaust happen? Or things like that. And the rabbi's been asked the question 1,000 times. He knows the answer, but they always say, oh, wow, what a great question. And so at age 3 or 4, we ask the 4 questions. It's called the Firkashas at Passover. And at our bar mitzvah, we spend months thinking of the most difficult question we can. And so we learn to challenge. And by the way, it gets us into a hell of a lot of trouble. I mean,
Okay.
we're slaves in Egypt. We're slaves in Germany. It's, the joke is we're the chosen people, but I wish they'd choose someone else for a while.
You know, I'm totally humored right now because people's big idea sometimes when they're 30 or 40 years old and they're finally getting paid thousands of dollars to speak. Their big idea is for you, the audience member, to go out there and ask new questions and produce new challenges. But that's been your mind frame since you were a young boy. So I just find it very interesting how your lens and the way that it's prepared and apertured can affect your actual altitude in life. I think that that's absolutely huge. Now, where did you actually grow up?
I grew up in Toronto, Canada.
Okay. What was it like for you growing up there?
Well, Jews typically congregate in a Jewish community. So do Chinese and so do Italians. And so I basically knew only Jews. And my high school was all Jewish. And I remember one day a non-Jewish boy came up to me and asked me what I got for Christmas. And I looked at him and said, nothing. I didn't get anything for Christmas. And he said, were you bad? Because there's like, Santa knows if you're good or bad. She said, I must have been bad. I didn't know.
This is hilarious because some kids, maybe a whole lot of kids, they think that all the other kids live a life just like theirs and
Right.
think the same thoughts and have the same traditions, but that simply was not true for you. Did you ever gain an interest into what was happening in everybody else's neighborhood and in everybody else's culture?
Not for a long time, Cedric, because like everyone when they grow up, they think that what's going on with them is universal. They don't think it's just specific to them. And so I thought everyone in the world was Jewish. I thought everyone got Jewish holidays off. I didn't know any different. I was just like any other kid in that way. But I was different in one respect. I was a genius in mathematics. And because I was a nerd, I never went on dates. I mean, what girl in her right mind would want to go out with a math nerd? I was socially completely unaware. I had no idea of anything that was going on. I was a virgin till I was, I think, 23, because I mean, nobody wanted to go on a date with the math nerd. So I had my struggles. And because nobody liked me, I was never picked on any sports team. And I don't mean if I was in a park and we got a group of boys together They said, let's play football. And then two guys would say, okay, well, I'll be the captain of this team. You'll be the captain of that team. And then they would choose people. It's not that I was chosen last. I wasn't chosen at all. I was chosen to be the audience. And so to this day, I don't know how to play basketball, volleyball, hockey, football. I mean, roughly I know, but I don't know the rules. I don't know how to play it. And so I had a disadvantaged beginning, weirdly, because of my intellect. I used my intellect. I got over 90% on every math test and every math exam, like right from grade 1. But it didn't help me socially.
Okay. I believe that everybody has bigness somewhere. Some people have bigness when it comes to the frame of their body. Some people's bigness lies in their talent. That talent might be athleticism. That talent might be art. That talent might be music. Some people just got a big old head. Some people got big lips, but everybody has bigness somewhere. And in that bigness, they excel and they begin to perform better and better and better and better. So for you, your bigness was in the intellectual space. And when did you realize that your bigness was in math? And what did that translate into as you got older?
Well, I always knew I was good in math. I always got the highest mark in the class or the highest mark in the school. But, and by the way, I've never received any prejudice. I've never been hurt by any anti-Semitism ever. But I was hurt with the nerdism, or maybe, I don't know what the word is. Mm-hmm. My average at the end of, in my final year of high school, was the highest average in the entire grade, but I wasn't chosen for the valedictorian because I was a math nerd. Math nerds can't speak. And so the guy who had the second highest average, but excelled in English, he was asked to be the valedictorian. And then the irony was that I've spent the last 37 years giving speeches, right, and helping millions of people around the world. That's the funny irony of it.
You were an original valedictorian. And what I want to hone in on today is the power that lies in numbers, the power that lies in math. And as we all know, income, money, monetary assets boils down to numbers. And so it becomes like a magic in a sense when you can master numbers and understand them and do more than simply what you're being asked to do. And so what I'm asking you is, when did you begin to do your own thing with math?
Well, I graduated from university as one of the youngest graduates in the entire history of the School of Physics. And I got a really high-paying job in mathematics and computers. And my clients were major government organizations who had very serious, complicated problems. And I would solve them with mathematics and computers, which were brand new at the time, totally brand new. Computers at that time took an entire floor of a physics building.
Right.
And they needed 22 operators and they weighed 100 tons, that kind of thing, and had 18 miles of cables underneath the floor. There was no such thing as laptops at that time.
Right, yeah.
And I somehow felt there was something missing. And so I quit my safe, high-paying salary job in comfortable mathematics and computers, and I launched a business to compete with Coca-Cola.
Okay.
And Coke won, as you might have noticed. And I lost everything and ran back to a salary job in math, paid off my debt, got bored, and launched a business distributing cosmetics. And when that went under, I lost everything. I ran back to math, got a salary job, paid off my debt, got bored again, quit, and launched another business distributing cosmetics. And then I went around that circle again and launched another business importing foreign sports cars. And then I went around that circle again and opened up a small chain of women's weight reducing salons. And then I went around the circle again and became a private eye. And this went on and on and on till I was 39 years old, $100,000 in debt, 50 pounds overweight. My boss had just fired me. My wife had just kicked me out of our marriage. I was lost. I was depressed. I had no idea what to do.
why did you have contempt for your talent?
I didn't have contempt. I had boredom. I did well at my job. I was paid very, very well, but it felt empty. I didn't have contempt at all for my employers, fellow workers, for myself, nothing. I loved it. I was great at it, but it felt empty. And
So,
somehow, go ahead.
so this is what I'm trying to explore. Is why did you keep walking away from math? You realized that you were great at it, but you kept leaving it. Why did you do that?
I felt empty.
Mhm,
It didn't fulfill me.
mhm,
It wasn't enough. There was something missing.
mhm. So, did you ever use math to create something new?
No, I just solved other people's problems.
Okay.
Whatever the client problem had, I'd solve it. It would be easy for me. And they would be amazed. The company would have a great reputation because of me. And it was like nothing to me.
So it was nothing to you when you solved major math problems.
Yeah, I solved major math and computer problems. The clients were dazzled. My solutions worked. My boss was happy. The company I worked for made lots of money. And I was saying, is that all there is?
Yeah.
It just wasn't enough for me. And I
Wow.
knew something was missing, but I didn't know what it was. And then here comes Cedric, here comes the turning point in my life. This is the big crux of your interview. Here it comes. You ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. My parents offered to take me to Mexico in
Okay.
order to find myself. I figured, oh, I thought I was in Canada, but maybe I'm in Mexico. So I
Hmm.
went to Mexico supposedly to find myself. Mostly I went because they were paying and I was broke. And there is a Mayan ruin called Chichen Itza. It looks like a pyramid.
I'm familiar.
Yeah. And at that time, not anymore, but at that time, you could walk up to the top and just sit there. Now you're not allowed to.
Hmm.
And a miracle happened. I was sitting there and I heard a voice in my head, as clear as anything, saying, Raymond, you're a teacher. I said, what? I don't have a teacher certificate. I never was a teacher. And I thought teacher meant high school math teacher.
Hmm.
And I didn't want to be a high school math teacher. And so I I decided to resist God, but that didn't work. So I went back to Toronto and I tried to get teaching jobs. But finally, after a year, like I don't want to go through the many failures I had trying to get teaching jobs, but finally, I got one job through the Toronto School of Business. And they said, do you know the computer programming language ALGOL? I said, sure, ALGOL, poof, nothing.
Hmm.
But I didn't. I knew 5 other programming languages, but I didn't know ALGOL. And they said, well, you start tomorrow morning. Great. So I borrowed a book from the library because I couldn't afford to buy a book. I was completely dead broke.
Hmm.
And I stayed up all night and I learned the programming language ALGOL. And when I arrived for my first day of teaching, the principal of the school said, you know what? You can do more than ALGOL. I don't want you to teach ALGOL. I want you to teach marketing. I said, oh, that's actually my forte. Yes, marketing. Yes. Meanwhile, every business I'd ever started had failed.
Hmm.
And he said, the teacher is sick and he has to teach 4 more Saturdays. So if you take over the last 4 Saturdays, I'll pay you $100 a Saturday. Oh, I couldn't believe it. And so I taught it. And one person said at the end of the 12th class, said, Mr. Aaron, you're the best teacher I've ever had in my life. I want to learn more from you. I said, well, this is the last day of the class. It's over.
Hmm.
They said, tell us about a success you've had. Meanwhile, I've been telling them all my failures because you learn a lot in failures. And I
Hmm.
didn't have a success. But my wife had a success. She was a renovator. So she would buy a house, renovate it. It would go up like $100,000. And she did that a few dozen times. And so we were multimillionaires because of her. So I told that story and everybody was dead silent. Everybody said, teach us more. And I said, if you want to learn more about real estate, take my real estate course. But Cedric, I said it to get rid of them.
Hmm.
Do you understand? I didn't have a real estate course.
Yeah, I understand.
Okay. So somebody said, how much is it? I said, how much is this marketing course? $129. Good. That's how much mine is.
Mhm.
They said, where do you teach it? And I said, oh, geez. If I say a hotel, they're going to phone the hotel and find out I haven't booked a room there.
Right.
So I said the weirdest thing I've ever said from stage. I said, I never divulge the hotel until after you've registered. And they
Mhm.
all said, okay, good point. Anyways, one person said, I will be there no matter what. You're the best teacher I've ever had. And so I found 7 other people, and I taught a course of 8 people, and everybody loved it. And they told their friends. My next course was 40 people. My next course was 120 people. And it just blossomed. And I was teaching real estate, and people were loving it. And people were buying real estate with little or no down payment. They were becoming millionaires. I was known right across North America. My fame skyrocketed. I was on every radio and television program in North America, just from nothing. It just exploded. And I finally found my calling. It was being in business as a teacher.
Mhm.
But I didn't know that before. It had nothing to do with mathematics.
For
It just
sure.
it just was teacher. And now teaching is my highest value. If I couldn't teach, I don't know how I could go on living.
You know,
When
talk about whether or not you met other people who are similar to you. They might have had talents in different areas, but lo and behold, they made great teachers. Did you meet other people who were lost, but after maybe deciding to become a teacher, were found on their new passion?
all my friends, Cedric,
Yeah.
all my friends, Jack Canfield, Dr. John Gray, T. Harv Eker, um, Brian Tracy, Tony Robbins, all my friends were lost before they found teaching.
Mhm. I just want to I want to expand this moment right here, because a lot of when I was younger, I was trying to show one of the kids in my neighborhood how to swing a bat and hit the ball across the yard. And I was trying to show him something that I hadn't done, but I knew exactly how to do it. His uncle came down the stairs and he said, "You know what, Cedric? Sometimes you're not always the person doing the action. Sometimes you would simply make a better teacher. Some people are just meant to be teachers." And I'm reminded of that as I listen to you, because how many folks are out there looking for some magical thing that they're supposed to be doing, or they're trying to find their passion here and there, but they've not realized that they themselves are simply a teacher.
Maybe. I don't know why a person came here this lifetime, but you're right. It may be teacher. And I
Mhm.
don't mean getting hired as a teacher. Most
Right.
people who are hired as a teacher in high school or elementary school it's just their job. They may like it, they may not like it. It's just their job. I don't mean that. It's inside me. It's my calling. And for example, when my younger daughter, when she was much younger, would come over and stay with me, because I'm split with her mother, my wife would grab me by the shoulders before my daughter Emma came over, and she'd say, Raymond, she's your daughter, not your student. Go play with her.
Mhm.
And she was right. I was preparing a lesson. I was preparing a lesson for my daughter for when she comes and sleeps over with me.
Mhm.
I would teach her things. I would say, notice that. Why do you think that works? Or why does that happen? Or why do you think that works? And she had never thought about it before. And so she thought about it, and she would come up with answers, and I would just love teaching so much.
Sure. Did you ever choose a niche or a subject matter, or did you just seek to become a general teacher, somebody who could teach on a wide variety of subjects?
Well, for 12 years, I taught real estate, because
Okay.
that's how I got into it. My first student said, I want to learn real estate from you. And then 12 years into it, when I was already internationally famous and very wealthy from teaching, and also I'd bought lots and lots of real estate, I got another message saying, teach life. I said, life? Life? I'm the victim of 2 divorces and I'm going to teach life? What the heck do I know? And I went to the office the next day and I said, cancel all my real estate courses, give them all their money back. I'm going to teach life. And my poor staff were horrified. I think they actually put in applications to seek new jobs, because They said to me, are you qualified to teach life? Is anybody going to sign up to learn life from you? And what is the content of this life course? And it turns out that I created a program which has been thriving now for 25 years, and it's been rated as the #1 goal achievement program in the world. Better than Tony Robbins, better than Brian Tracy's. Not goal setting, goal achievement. And so I've taught that for the last 25 years. And then I got another message 10 years ago that I should teach spirituality. I said, spirituality? I don't even know what that means. I know what religion means, but I don't even know what spirituality means. But what I've learned in my life is when I get a little message, when I get a little nudge, when I have a tiny thought when I'm having a shower or when I'm just waking up in the morning, I follow that, as crazy as it sounds. And that has been why my life is so spectacular.
Mm-hmm. Do you take your thoughts more seriously between the hours of 3 and 6?
AM or PM?
AM.
I'm never up between 3 and 6, but I take the ideas that come to me whenever they are. They could be driving a car. They could be in a shower. And so let's say I'm driving down Main Street and I always turn at 9th Avenue, but I could turn at any street, but I always turn at 9th Avenue. If I get a little thought, turn at 7th today, I do it.
Mm-hmm.
I do it. And sometimes I never know why, but maybe if I'd gone straight, I would have been hit by a truck. I don't know. Mm-hmm. Or maybe I'm just making it up, but I always do it. And sometimes I find out that it was the right thing to do. And Cedric, there's one that happened just recently. I want to tell you. Okay.
Sure.
You'll love this story. When I lived in the high-rise condo, my unit was on the south side. The elevators were on the south side. And there was a door on the south side and the north side. So I went out for a jog. I left my south side condo, went down the south side elevators, walked out the south side door, and ran. And on the way back, I decided to get my wife a Starbucks. And it was a little awkward to run with a Starbucks, but I wanted to cherish my wife. So I get back to my building, and I'm just about to enter the south side door, which is the correct thing to do because I wanted the drink to be as hot as possible for my wife. And I get a message, use the north door. Mm-hmm. What? That's stupid. If I walk all the way to the north side door, I'm going to have to enter there and walk all the way back to the south side to go up the south side elevator. It doesn't make any sense.
Right.
What did I do? I walked to the north door. And that's where the parking garage door is. So just as I get to the north door, my wife in her car drives out of the garage. We see each other. She rolls the window down. I hand her the coffee as she's driving by. She didn't even stop. Right. It was choreographed like a movie. Mm-hmm. And I just put my hand in the window. She took it, smiled, and kept driving. It was like the biggest miracle. A second sooner or a second later, it wouldn't have worked. And it only worked because I listened to the little voice. If I'd gone up the south side like I should have, like the normal, the house would have been empty. My wife would have come back 3 hours later, and I said, here's some. Mm-hmm. I always follow that little nudge, that little hunch, that little thought inside my head.
Wow. When you synchronize with the little voice in your head, it puts you in the stream of abundance that you're always looking for, that you're thinking about. It puts you right there in the stream, and it makes you right on time.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're talking to Raymond Aaron. The fact that he asks and challenges has got him to where he is today. Tag a friend, text a friend, like and subscribe to this video, because we'll be right back with more with Raymond Aaron, the Great. America's Next Motivator, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 5 p.m. Eastern, Tuesday and Thursday at 10 a.m. Eastern. America's Next Motivator, hosted by me, Cedric Riley, and sponsored by the Pride Empowerment Network. And we're back.
We
Raymond, how
are.
you feeling out there?
Say it again.
How are you feeling out there?
I'm It's pitch black out here. It's
Yeah,
freezing cold. It's scary, but I'm learning how to accustomize to it.
for sure. You know, I usually take a longer break, but I'm so entrenched in this conversation that we're having today, and I want to make sure that we get as much value out of these moments as possible. Now, were you doing things in a mathematical way, even though you were teaching different subjects? Were you teaching in a mathematical way? Is there any connection between math and what you actually excelled at? I'm trying to find a connection.
Cedric, I've been interviewed for 37 years. You're the
Mhm.
best interviewer I've ever had. Your questions are so insightful and so unique. They're obviously not pre-planned, nothing, and you're really brilliant at what you do.
Thank you.
You're the male Oprah.
Let's
You're
rock and roll.
So here's the answer. Because I studied mathematics, I have to think absolutely clearly. Like in mathematics, you can't say, oh, it's probably true. Let's pretend it's true and go on. No, every single thing has to be proved in order for you to have proven an issue. And so I see people who they're sloppy in their thinking. They don't think clearly. And so it's so easy for me to help them because when they talk, they leave out big things, they say things wrong, they don't comprehend what they're actually saying. So it's very easy for me because I've been trained to think very clearly and to think of every single option to help people a lot because they leave out things, they don't think clearly.
Mhm. What would you say is the best problem that you ever solved? What was the best problem that you ever solved? The best one.
Oh man, I no one has ever asked that question.
Well, the reason why I asked what's the best one as opposed to what was the hardest one is because I want people to understand what it is that you've contributed. Like, did you help IBM figure out a new algorithm? Did you go to a cousin of Microsoft and help them to do something logistically? Did you help develop Six Sigma? What did you do?
My love is not helping big corporations. My love is helping individuals. So I have a coaching program in which I help individuals, me personally, not my staff. And I love teaching my daughter, my younger daughter. So my successes have been individual one-on-one. People almost bankrupt and they've turned their life around. People who were negative thinking without realizing it, turning their life around. People who were victims without realizing it. Like
Mhm.
people say things like, you know, my luck, had to get home quickly and I hit every red light, or my luck, I get a car wash and it rains. People don't even know that they're being a victim when they say that. And I turn people's lives around. It's so beautiful. Maybe one of the best ones recently is Jack Canfield and I. In case people don't know, Jack Canfield is the co-creator of the Chicken Soup for the Soul series of books, and
Mhm.
he was the star of the movie The Secret. He and I have been really great friends for 30 years. And in March, when the lockdown happened, we phoned each other and wondered if our seminar business could survive. I mean, can you imagine Jack Canfield, Raymond, Aaron, our seminar businesses not being able to meet payroll?
Mhm.
Well, it was a real possibility because we thought that the way you hold a seminar was you get on an airplane, you sleep in a hotel bedroom, and then you commute down the elevator to a hotel ballroom.
Right.
That's for 37 years, that's what teaching was. Suddenly, there's no airports, there's no airplanes, and there's no hotels. And we're wondering, how are we going to meet payroll? It was pretty scary. And so we studied which businesses would go up and which businesses would go down. And we chose an industry that would go up, and we started a business together, and it's been wildly successful because we did choose correctly. In fact, it's so successful that we can't handle all the business that we've created. And so we're actually, just by the way, we're on the lookout for a joint venture partner right now, to
Wow.
someone who is willing to work very hard in a business that is skyrocketing because of the lockdown, and the money is flying in and we just can't handle it all.
See,
So
that's a great example of a best problem that you solved. I mean, right now, it's one of the most historic problems that we've ever had to solve is how do you hurry up and make money in a virtual society? Everybody had to first slam on the brakes because of the pandemic, but then they had to slam on the gas in order to figure out how to make their respective payrolls. You solved that problem in grand fashion with your partner. Any advice for other people who are trying to figure out how to excel in a virtual world?
Yeah, I do have advice, Cedric. So instead of saying, I'm a plumber, I'm an aromatherapist, I'm whatever, instead of saying that's who I am, and if I can't make money at it, or if I get fired from my job, I should line up for unemployment insurance. Instead of saying that, be creative.
Mhm.
So for example, I just moved to this log cabin and our septic tank blew. So no problem. I looked up in Google for emergency septic tank repair. And they said, no problem. We'll be out there in 3 weeks. I said, what? What do you
Yeah,
mean 3 weeks? I
yeah,
need you like in 1 hour.
right.
And they said, no, 3 weeks. I said, why? They said, COVID. I said, will you stop blaming everything on COVID? Tell
Right.
me why. And listen to this. It's an unexpected consequence of the lockdown. Wait till you hear this. So many people are working from home now that there's more pooping at home and septic tanks are filling up faster.
That's right.
Can
That's right.
you believe that? There's also a worldwide shortage of cardboard because nobody can buy anything in stores. It all has to be shipped.
Hmm.
There's weird consequences. And all, see, when everything's normal, it's hard to make a buck. When everything is normal, it's hard to get in. Like if you just graduate from chiropractic college, let's say, and you want to launch your practice, well, if everyone who wants a chiropractor already has one, you can't get in. But in times when everything is torn apart, there's all kinds of gigantic opportunities. Here's an example. I know a colleague who runs the largest gym in Los Angeles. He
Hmm.
pays several $100,000 a month in rent. It's a gigantic gym. When the lockdown happened, tens of thousands of his clients stopped paying $20 a month because they
That's
couldn't get into the gym.
right. Hmm.
And he was facing bankruptcy. And I said, stop it. Stop being a victim. Find out what they want. They don't want to go to your damn gym. They want to be fit. He
That's
said,
right.
oh, I've got an idea. And he called one of his clients and said, I know you like the stair climber. I've disinfected the stair climber. It's on a truck to your home right now. If you say yes, I'll deliver it $99 a month. If you say no, I'll give it to someone else who wants it. He said, no, deliver it, deliver it. So instead of a guy getting a choice of 1,000 pieces of equipment for $20, they now have one piece of equipment for $99. He used to work 15 hours a day, 7 days a week running his gym because it was such a vast enterprise, he couldn't afford to not be there. And now he has 1,000 pieces of equipment out on rental in people's living rooms. He's canceled his lease at his gym. He saved several $100,000 a month in rental overhead. He runs his business from his cell phone. He doesn't work 15 hours a day. He works about an hour a day because the only calls he gets are people saying, I'm tired of the stair climber, send something else. He
Right.
says, okay, I'll send it. That's it. He's gone from 15 hours a day to 1 hour a day. He's gone from several $100,000 rental overhead to zero rent overhead. He's gone from clients paying him $20 a month to clients paying him $99 a month. He's making way more money with way less effort. He's semi-retired. He works from a beach or his bed.
Mhm.
And he said, thank God for the lockdown. It's the best thing that ever happened to me. And everyone who's looking for how they can deliver value can see hundreds of opportunities because the whole world's been ripped apart and everybody wants to know what's going on.
Absolutely. You know, I once read a book called The 4 Hour Work Week, and it was all about understanding how to enact your possibility. Everybody has a possibility out there. And in this era right here, right now, there are numerous possibilities for everybody. Because like Raymond said, there are consequences of this pandemic that are creating new opportunities for business owners and entrepreneurs that are just popping up all over the place. So it's almost like hurry up and create the life of your dreams. That's what it's like. But right now, you have an opportunity to enact a possibility to learn to work remotely, learn to work virtually, and change your life. This way, when the pandemic is over, when this era is history more than it is now, your life will be totally different. And it's the change that so many of us have sought to achieve in our lives. Now, as a life teacher, how do you turn people's lights on in their minds, in their hearts, in their
Well,
bodies?
I've learned the spiritual principles over the last 10 years, and I just teach them the spiritual laws. If you break a spiritual law, even if you don't know you're breaking it, you will injure your physical universe. So I'll give you an
Wow.
example. There's one spiritual law: never add time. Never add time. So whenever you hear someone say, "Oh, let me sleep on it," they're breaking a spiritual law. Whenever
Whoa.
you hear, whenever you hear someone say, "Let me think about it," they're breaking a spiritual law. "Let me tell you tomorrow," they're breaking a spiritual law. Every single time you add time, you're breaking a spiritual law. And
Wow.
and so here's an example of how it could injure your physical universe. Let's say that I don't want to use you, Cedric, because you're such a good guy. Let's say Frank, some guy Frank. He could make a decision today, but he decides to leave it off till tomorrow. And tomorrow he gets some bad news. So he's got to handle that. And then he gets a flat tire and he has to handle that. So the person he promised to reply to, he fails to do that. And now he's got 3 things on his plate. And then he leaves those off till the next day and he's got 20 things on his plate. And so when you break the spiritual law, you get injured in the physical universe. And every time when I'm coaching and anyone says, "Let me think about it," I said, "No, if you knew the answer, tell it to me right now." And they would tell it to me and it'd be brilliant.
That's right.
Let's say that you do every single thing that you think of today, you actually do it tomorrow. You don't procrastinate. You actually get it all done tomorrow instead of today.
Mhm.
That means it takes you 2 days to do everything instead of 1, which means you just cut your income in half. Bang, just like that.
This is one of the most impactful comments I've ever heard come out of somebody else's mouth. You've got Earl Nightingale, you've got Brian Tracy, you've got Jack Canfield, and you've got Raymond Aaron. These series of dots is the key to abundance in all forms. We've got to find a way to listen to our stream of consciousness. It existed before we ever were born. Once you were born, you have access to that spirit and that consciousness. But everybody's not going to tell you, "Hey, listen to your consciousness." They're going to tell you, "Hey, learn this subject, learn that subject, follow this rule, follow that rule, follow this tradition, follow that tradition." Sometimes you turn around and you're 50 years old and you never tapped into your own stream of consciousness. But now, if you do figure out that you should tap into your stream of consciousness, for me, it was having a computer in my room in the 11th grade that enabled me to surf YouTube until I found out about transformational meditation. And then I found out about my pineal gland and how all these faculties could line up and open up if your focus was correct. But for you, it could happen right here on America's Next Motivator. Raymond Aaron is letting us know that when we synchronize with our hearts and our consciousness, then we synchronize with our actual destinies. It's a tight stream. It makes you correct in the moment. But if you get outside of that formula, you could be doomed for life. What is the next step for people who want to follow your formula?
Well, I'm giving away a book. I wrote a hardcover bestseller, Double Your Income Doing What You Love, and I'm giving away as a gift. So just go to giftfromraymond.com. Giftfromraymond.com. It's really easy. Giftfromraymond.com. And no cost, no obligation. You will receive an instant download of Double Your Income Doing What You Love, my hardcover bestseller. Furthermore, you'll be in our database, and so we'll invite you to some fascinating events. Giftfromraymond.com. Very good. You spelt it perfectly. Yeah. And we'll invite you to some events, and you can come to them, and I personally will be teaching them. Also, Cedric asked me about what I'm doing. And I told you that Jack Canfield and I started a business that we knew would be buoyed up by the lockdown. And I'm looking for, if you're interested in working hard, start a business, not for $100,000 or $1 million like for McDonald's, just a few $100s for some supplies, and you want to work really hard with Jack Canfield and me training you, just email me personally. You can see my name, Raymond Aaron. That's my email address, raymond@aaron.com. raymond@aaron.com. Just email me, say you want to be considered for a joint venture with Jack Canfield and me. Give me your cell phone number, and I personally will call you back to have you audition for that part. So get a book from me free at giftfromraymond.com, and you might even get an opportunity to work directly with Jack Canfield and me by emailing me at raymond@aaron.com.
Mm-hmm. You've authored several books. What are some of the other books that you've written?
I wrote a New York Times bestseller, and that's Chicken Soup for the Parent Soul. I've also written a Canadian bestseller, Chicken Soup for the Canadian Soul. I'm also the only person in the entire world, Cedric, who has ever written a chicken soup book and a For Dummies book. I wrote Branding Small Business for Dummies. No one else has been in both of the top series.
Wow. You've had a pretty cool life.
Yeah, but it started at age 39, Cedric. I basically had failure. I mean, I graduated as a physicist. I got huge marks in mathematics. But I actually wrote a calculus textbook when I was 21 that was made compulsory at the University of Toronto. Yes, I wrote a calculus textbook at age 21.
I know that we always go chronologically, and the past is the past and the current is the current, but we've got to go back to that. So you wrote a calculus book. How did you do that? How did you do that?
Well, when I graduated from university and had my certificate and put it in my dad's safe, I walked up to the dean of math and said, I think you do a lousy job teaching math. And he asked for some examples. I spoke for about 2 hours. He was silent for the whole 2 hours. And he said, you know what? I agree with you. Write a book. And if I like it, I'll make it compulsory at the University of Toronto for every incoming freshman calculus student. Mm-hmm. And I wrote it, and he liked it, and he made it compulsory. I was a published author at age 21 of a calculus textbook. It was called a programmed instruction course in the techniques of calculus.
That is absolutely amazing. And so, you know, because you are this caliber of a thinker and this caliber of a performer, I've just got to continue to ask you a few things just off the fly.
Go ahead.
What are your thoughts about cryptocurrency?
I think it's going to go up way, way higher. Way, way higher. Because one reason is the United States is just printing trillions of dollars to give away to people, or whatever they do with it. It doesn't matter. You can't print trillions of dollars without creating inflation. Mm-hmm. And people no longer want to flee to gold because gold can be stolen from them. But Bitcoins can't be stolen from you.
Mm-hmm. Do we just invest in other people's cryptocurrency, or do we create our own cryptocurrencies if we have a purpose for it? Do you need a purpose for it if you know it's the future?
I don't recommend you start your own or buy a small one. I recommend you stick with Ethereum or Bitcoin. Just stick with the big guys.
Mm-hmm. Because that's like sticking with McDonald's as opposed to starting your own burger joint.
Yeah.
What can we do to curb the mass misunderstanding that people have about the times that we live in? You know, we have a lot of people who just simply don't want to catch up with the times. And I'm someone who I like to get out in the public with a loudspeaker if I can. But I've been told you can't save everybody. You can't get to everybody. But I think you can. What do you think about that?
I love your optimism. I love that you think that everyone is special. I haven't seen that. That's not my observation. My observation is there's a lot of people, the majority of people, who aren't special. They're just really, really average and slow, and they don't think for themselves, and they talk in cliches, and they just repeat what other people say without thinking. It's not a very nice view of society, and I respect yours, and I hope that yours is truer than mine.
Mhm.
And when you ask about what's going on these days, I have a very different view than most people have, and I'll summarize it. And that is, I don't think that there's a bad virus that's causing corona, because viruses are actually messengers. Viruses aren't living things, they're just messengers, they're just data. And they're there to help you improve and help you adapt to the environment, to help you always regenerate yourself and, like Darwin said, evolve.
Mhm.
But when you breathe in millions of viruses in every breath. So it's
Mhm.
unlikely that one of those is a bad guy. Here's what I think is the problem, and that is, since the end of the Second World War, so for 70, 80 years, we've been fouling our own nest. We've been pooping in our own nest. If you take any non-domesticated animal, a lion, a tiger, a rabbit, a zebra, and you pour its own shit into its own nest, it'll get really sick.
Mhm.
And that's what man has been doing for 7 decades. We've produced tens of thousands of new chemicals that never existed before and which the human body can't handle. Our water is contaminated, our air is contaminated, our food is highly processed and full of sugar. You may not know this, but the country of Ireland just fined Subway. They issued them a fine because they call what they make their sandwiches out of bread. But according to the Government of Ireland definition, it doesn't qualify as bread because of its unbearably high sugar content. It qualifies as pastry or cake.
Right.
So when food manufacturers are tricking us and loading us up with sugar, and the air and the water quality are all bad, then what's happening is our bodies are breaking down.
That's
And
right.
it's not going to be solved by a virus. Sorry. It's not going to be solved by a vaccine.
That's right.
The vaccine might help a little bit, but if you still keep pooping in your own nest, you'll still be sick and getting sicker and sicker and sicker. And a coronavirus vaccine is not going to do it. Furthermore, coronavirus vaccine is a drug. It's an untested drug. Even tested drugs have horrible side effects. This is an untested drug.
Mhm.
I'm not telling your viewers what to do. I'm just saying, if you are afraid of taking a fully tested drug because of its horrible side effects, hoo-ha, you should be really afraid of taking an untested drug.
Mhm. So there is an ancient proverb. It's an ancient Asian proverb that says a humanity can be placed in a condition that is bad for them. And if they don't create a way to make that environment better, then they deserve to die.
Yeah.
Is the universe asking us to invent a new paradigm or to just follow the spiritual laws? But in doing so, create or manifest an invention that can change the world. We know that technology brings hope. Have we been put up to the task of inventing a technology that corrects our world?
Cedric, I've never heard anyone say it so well. Yes, we are the ones that are being asked to take the left road or the right road. The left road is the road of progress at any cost. Processing food at any cost. Make anything, quote, better at any cost. Who cares if you kill people? Just go ahead and manufacture whatever you want.
Right.
And and if you do that, you're and even further down that road, if billions of people take an untested drug, and let's say that untested drug injures your immune system, then 3 years from now, everyone could get cancer. Everybody could get diabetes.
Yeah.
Oh my God,
Yeah.
that's even worse.
Yeah. Hopefully, we don't all sit around the television 10 years from now, and then a commercial pops on and says, "Hey, did you take the coronavirus vaccine in the year 2020? Because I want you to get in touch with this set of lawyers to see if you've been injured. Because I am extending an invitation to you and any of the other amazing thinkers that you know within your 6 degrees to work with me to invent a way to change the world. Ladies and gentlemen, we're talking to Raymond Aaron today. He's one of the greatest of all time. I've appreciated you. I want to let you know that I've listened to your story today. I've heard the way that you dealt with adversities, the way that you sought passion and you sought true achievement. Ladies and gentlemen, get your crown emojis ready, because today we're putting a crown on your head, Raymond Aaron. We're giving you your crown while you're still alive, and we're giving you your respect while you can still acknowledge it. We are letting you know, letting the world know that Raymond Aaron, I'm sorry, I'm excited. Raymond Aaron, you are America's next motivator.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
And just to remind you, if you want my book for free, just go to giftfromraymond.com and download it. If you want to be considered to work in a business with Jack Canfield and me, email me personally, raymond@aaron.com, AARON, AARON, and give me your cell phone number. I personally will call you back and you can audition.
Absolutely.
And Cedric, you are the best interviewer in the universe. I've never been interviewed by anyone with such vitality, such clarity, such brilliance of choice of vocabulary. I love it. You are totally awesome and authentic. I love it. I love it.
I appreciate you so much for stopping by today, all right?
Anytime you want me back, I'm yours. Give me
Yes,
no
sir.
notice whatsoever. If an interviewee doesn't show up, I'm yours.
Yes, sir.
I
Let's
love
rock and roll. Thank
I
you.
love you. Okay.
Love you too,
Bye-bye.
sir. Yes, sir. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. Each and every episode of America's Next Motivator is going to have something here for you. All you've got to do is stop by and pick it up.